Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Executive Insights by Mediacorp. My name is Sonal Mathur, and I head partnerships and new business here at Mediacorp, and I will be your host for today. We are diving into a topic that lies at the heart of every scaling business: how to overcome the challenges of scalability. Whether you are an early stage startup or an SME or even an established company, the journey to scale your business presents immense opportunities, but also unique challenges. We've all encountered businesses with innovative ideas, but without the right strategy and support in place, their growth can stall. Scaling isn't just about increasing revenue, it's about building the right people, the infrastructure, improving efficiencies, securing resources, and ensuring that you have the right team and technology in place for sustained long-term growth. And that's exactly what we're here to discuss today. I'm super excited to introduce our distinguished panel of experts who bring deep insights into this topic from different aspects of the business world. Please welcome Vanessa Ho, co-founder of Fintech Nation Fund, which focuses on early stage startup investments in Southeast Asia, particularly in the fintech space. Hi, Vanessa. How are you this morning?
Thanks, Sonal, for having me. I'm good.
Great. I also have with me Marco Iannitto, who is the founder of TechDel Consulting that specializes in helping companies streamline their operations, optimize processes, and unlock their full growth potential. Hello, Marco. Good morning.
Hello, Sonal. Hello, everyone. Good morning to you.
And finally, we have with us Ricky Kapur, who is the head of Asia Pacific at Zoom. Ricky leads Zoom's go-to-market efforts across APAC, driving regional growth and empowering organizations in their digital transformation efforts. Great to have you with us, Ricky. Good morning.
Good morning, Sonal. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to an exciting discussion.
Yeah, looking forward to it too. All right, so before we deep dive into the insights from our experts, I want to flash a quick poll so that you can tell us what are some of the challenges that you have faced while scaling your business. You'll see a question pop up on your screen. So please help us identify the relevant answers. The options are manpower management, operational efficiency, financial constraints, technology integration, maintaining quality, market competition, or international regulatory compliance. It's a multiple choice question, so feel free to take as many answers that are relevant to your business. We'll wait for a few seconds for everybody to send in their responses. All right, cool. So we're closing the poll now, and I have the answers in front of me. Interesting. So firstly, I think what stands out is all of these challenges have got some votes, which is quite obvious. The highest votes are for manpower management. So that is a bigger challenge for this group here. Closely followed by operational efficiency. So manpower management is 50%, operational efficiency is 54%, and then maintaining quality and financial constraints is both at 50% each. So that's interesting as well. In fact, the lowest one is also 19%. So that's again something that is a challenge for everyone here. Great, thank you so much for sharing your responses. And as we can see that many of these challenges are pretty common across different stages of growth. And these are precisely the kind of challenges that we have seen with startups faced during our new initiative that we launched on CNA earlier this year called the Big Spark. For those of you who may not have heard of this, the Big Spark is a unique platform that spotlighted exceptional entrepreneurs across Southeast Asia, giving them an opportunity to pitch their business ideas to some of the region's top venture capitalists. Out of hundreds of entries that we received, 24 deserving startups were selected to participate in the competition, seeking a share of $1 million in seed funding. The show brought to life some incredible stories and real-life challenges that early-stage businesses face as they scale. The show captivated 500,000 audiences across various platforms like CNA, CNA Online, MeWatch, and YouTube. Our publicity campaign saw a significant reach of 4.2 million and 66% coverage across PMEVs. And as you can see on your screen, we had a stellar lineup of partners supporting us in this vision of fostering growth in the startup ecosystem. Now, the vision for the Big Spark was always larger than just an 8-part show. We wanted to keep the conversations going. We wanted to continue supporting innovation, inspire the community, which led us to the launch of the Big Spark CXO Dialogues. Now, these dialogues are basically intimate engagements that bring together industry leaders, government representatives, founders, investors, to really have honest dialogues and conversations on pressing tech and business-related topics, with a very sharp focus on fostering innovation and making an impact. Since April 2024, these dialogues have been running as a monthly series in partnership with Ecosystem. And as we talk about scalability today, I think it's really important to recognize the impact of AI on the way businesses scale, which is actually our next dialogue that's happening tomorrow. The topic for this session, the upcoming one, is staying ahead of the AI curve. And in this session, we will explore how reinventing tech infrastructure through AI can help businesses manage their growing data needs while also streamlining operations. So if you're interested in this topic, or you're generally curious to know about these dialogues, then feel free to scan the QR code on the right-hand side of your screen and join us tomorrow at 1880 to know more. All right, so without further ado, I would like to invite our first expert speaker, Marco. Marco, from your experience of working with SMEs and coaching them during this journey, how do you really help startups determine what's the right time for them to accelerate their growth? And what are some common pitfalls or mistakes that they make during this journey? We would love to hear from you. Over to you, Marco.
Yes, thank you so much, Sonal. So I think the initial poll was very insightful. I think those and the results of the poll were really right on point. I think those are pretty much the main challenges that we see. And I would like, in this short presentation, I would like to name a little bit of those challenges and some strategies that we can use during our growth to overcome these challenges. So first of all, I'm Marco Iannitto, so thanks, Sonal, for the introduction. And let me give you a little bit, and to you and the audience, a little bit of my background. So my background is, come from the automotive industry. I started my career in Ferrari, and I ended up leading some very interesting projects, the development of very interesting projects, until I ended up in Bugatti Rimac to develop the Nevera, which is currently the fastest electric car in the world with almost 2,000 horsepower. So today, talking about scaling up, I would like to address these 4 points. So when is the right time for us to scale? What are the common pitfalls that some of the common pitfalls that we face? How do we overcome these pitfalls? And the importance of partnership in our growth journey. So let's start from the first one. When do we scale? So I believe that it's never too late to start scaling, but it can be too early. So if we don't have enough structure in our business, in our vision, we might end up in losing and wasting a lot of effort. So when is the right time to scale? We need to have a consistent revenue growth, a proven model, meaning that we have to, our business has to be in a stage past the product market fit, when we can really only focus on reaching new markets. We want to have a replicable business model, that it creates the possibility for us to increase our market, to develop a new market without developing too much the extra costs that come with reaching new clients. We want to have a strong market demand that goes, without saying. It's very unsavvy to try to sell something to someone that doesn't want it to sell. It creates a great sell effort, whereas we need to identify our market. And then finally, I think one of the most undervalued moment is when we need to be in the right mindset. We're going to face great challenges, and we need to be able to overcome these challenges. So in general, I would say, let's aim to the stars. When we try to grow, we want to aim really to the stars, but being ready to and being sure that we have enough fuel in our rocket to get there. So let's move to what are the common pitfalls. Some we saw that already in the relevance of those pitfalls we saw in the initial poll, and let me go through some of those very quickly. Then for deeper, we have the Q&A session later on that we can go deeper on each detail. Overwhelmed leadership. I believe that we are all very familiar in how overwhelming really is when we have to take care of our daily operations while we try to expand our market and our business. Talent acquisition, it was clear, that our workforce is one of the main problems that we have. It's already hard to find people. It's even harder to find great people. And then we go to cost management and cash flow. So we need to monitor at any time our cash, our finance, because that's our blood for our business. Quality control, we need to be able to deliver and be consistent in our delivery, whether we are working with a product or a service. We want to make sure that we consistently deliver the same level of quality to our clients. And of course, customer experience. Our customers, if we grow, don't care if they are 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 10,000 customers. They want to be treated like they are special. And we need to, and word of mouth, it's still one of the most amazing way to grow. And then unclear targets. This is for me very common. I've seen it many times, and I think the most important, the fastest way to get somewhere is knowing where we want to get. So if we have a clear target, it's easier for us to keep our direction and make sure that we are not drifting away from our path. So these problems, if we don't take care of them, they bring to inefficiency, financial challenges, team instability, and customer loss. So these are some of the most common causes, if you Google that, of failure for a business. So let's see a little bit what can we do to scale, how we can overcome those pitfalls. I believe growth is I see that as a structure. We have a bottom layer, and then on top of that, we make it, more stable. So bottom layer, we have risk management, financial management, yes, and scaling target. So these three items are, I mentioned already, I think are really the bottom layer of the foundation of our structure for a business when we want to grow. On top of that, we start creating operational procedures. We want efficiency. It was one item in the poll, right? And then team structure. So these two parts are when we create efficiency in the operation and efficiency in our team. We need to make sure that our generals, our director, are in line with our vision and can somehow replicate our approach to the business, like if they were our own. And then on top of that, for sure, leverage technology and tools. WhatsApp chats are amazing, but we have to implement a stronger structure, because when we grow, we can lose track of our operations, and this can never happen. In general, this structure, in short, we want to have a proactive approach. So be ready to react and anticipate certain challenges we might face along our journey, rather than just react out of need. And then last item that I wanted to cover is the importance of partnership. So it doesn't have to be a solo journey. It's already challenging, and having a partnership can really ease our journey. What kind of partnership? I like to divide in two parts. One is the strategic partnerships, such as logistic providers, technology providers, manufacturing partners. And Ricky today will bring for sure an amazing real life example of how technology providers can help us. So operational efficiency, advanced technology, scalability support are some of the value that having a partnership, a strategic partner can bring in our venture. On the other side, there are growth partners, venture capitalists, consultants, and advisors / mentors. Today we have Vanessa will be talking about the finance part, so the venture capitalist world. It will make for sure very clear understanding on the value of having such kind of partners. What do they bring? They bring for sure capital injections, expertise and experience, so we don't have to face challenges for the first time. We can really have a proactive approach, and an objective feedback on how we are performing, if we are addressing our challenges in the right way. So let's wrap up in just a few bullet point list what we said. So to scale up, we need clear target, so we know where we're going to. We need to have a sustainable strategy that supports this journey. We need to have a solid financial management. Again, money is our blood, so we need to make sure that we are healthy on that side. An adaptable structure, because we can foresee certain challenges, but some other, we will have to adapt our structure to face those challenges. And last but not least, there is no need to reinvent the wheel. Rely on expertise with strategic and growth partners will really help us to navigate these very rough waters. So that's it for my presentation. Thank you all for listening. I'm happy to hear your comments and questions in the Q&A section. And for now, I just wanted to invite everyone to scan this QR code. This gives you access to our profit assessment. That's a tool that I use when trying to assess. It's like a triage moment for a company to understand where are the areas of potential improvement in terms of efficiency when we are trying to grow and scale up our operations. Thank you so much, Sonal. I'll give it back to you.
Thank you so much, Marco. Thanks for sharing that secret recipe for scaling the business, and also that very insightful framework on building a scalable foundation. I think that's really, really important. I just want to sort of double click on one point that you said, which really echoed with me. It's hard to find good talent, but it's even harder to find the right talent. I think that's so true, and I can't agree more. I'm just curious, Marco, just to follow up on that. How, from your perspective, how can SMEs better position themselves to attract the top talent, especially in competitive markets, and what is the kind of advice that you would give them, in that space?
So I've been building, that's an interesting question, really. I've been building many teams, and attracting new talents is one big challenge for sure. I think showing traction in your business, I think, is the easiest way to attract great talents. It is, however, true that we can't rely only on the best talents out there. Strategic approach means that we need to also consider that we have access to what we have access to, right? So we need to create our operations, our targets, also considering that not all the talents are great talents, but they can definitely deliver value to our company. If not maybe 100% of what we would expect from them, even 60%, but place them in the right position rather than the position that we would like them to work on, might definitely increase the value that they would bring.
Great. That's a great point. Thank you so much, Marco, for that.
Thank you, Sonal.
I just want to remind our audience that if you have any questions for any of our speakers, any burning thoughts, just use the Q&A feature and send us your questions. We will be taking the audience questions towards the second half of the session. All right. Thank you, Marco. I would like to next invite Vanessa to share some of her insights as a venture capitalist. Vanessa, what does scalability really mean to you from your perspective? And how can companies effectively tap into funds while they're managing their cash flows? It'd be good to hear from your perspective on that.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Sonal, and thanks, Marco, also for leading into a very, very nice way into some of the pieces that I want to talk about. Just a quick introduction about myself. The co-founder and I lead investments together with another person, Varun Mittal, at Fintech Nation Fund. At Fintech Nation, we have three pieces. We have a venture capital arm with domain expertise in fintech. We also lead a lot of community initiatives with government, associations, and private entities. And we do thought leadership, starting with the book called Fintech Nation, which is how the name came about. And we were very happy to be part of the Big Spark as well, as Sonal introduced. And I also lead Corp Dev Investor Relations Partnerships at Party Post, which is an influencer advertising platform as well. So reach out to me after this webinar if you want to talk about startup investment, fintech, community, and marketing as well. So these are the things I'll be talking about today. Success metrics and funding sources will be the main focus. And I think I'm going to cover some of the things that are also relevant for non-tech startup, because I think some of the participants asked about more SME-focused things, which are not your potential unicorn businesses. But I think some of the topics that I'll be talking about will be also very relevant for you. So I think continuing from Marco's content, I think the key to starting any actionable first is defining your success metrics. And this evolves at different stages of business. This evolves at different milestones and your own business objectives as well. These are not comprehensive, but each of these are also part of scaling. I think one of the common things, especially, and this is relevant for myself or businesses like Marcos, is that a lot of times we provide, say, service-based business, or we ourselves are a business. There's also a way to measure success metrics that attribute to scalability. So example, if you're an individual consultant or headhunter, for example, or even like a content creator even, right? The individual scale success metrics could be things like brand value, community size, reach and engagement. If you're doing e-commerce, I'm sure there are people here who are very familiar with these, your GMV, your top line, bottom line profitability as well. So I think just identifying what is your top objective first before breaking down into where you want to put your resources, what you want to double down on, where you want to allocate your team's manpower into would be a key to get started. And this might change monthly, or this might change quarterly as well. And I think there's no way to define what is the perfect metric for you to aim towards at different stages of business. It's really tailored to everybody. I think some of the interesting things that I think a lot of SMEs have to start thinking of if you're starting off in Singapore and are going regionally would be eventually how many markets do you want to serve? And with that, do you want to expand your revenue lines and revenue streams, which is going like horizontal? Do you want to go deeper as well into your business units? Market share, market cap will be important, especially as we are trying to be number one or number two in specific markets. I'll go into funding sources because I think that's my bread and butter in venture capital as well. And this is also relevant for non-tech businesses. The three main funding sources I'll cover today would be grants, individual investors, and institutional investors. So on grants wise, we have both government resources, which are useful for when you are cost saving for different resources, like hiring, for example, whether it's like interns or a vendor like a marketing agency, or for cloud solutions, for example. The terms are generally very friendly. You may have certain conditions you have to fulfill, but generally from conversations with different founders, a lot of people miss out a lot of grants that are only eligible during the first year of business. So if you are newly incorporated, this is the time to apply for as many grants as you can, given your needs. And as you go and as you get more mature, the different grants will become larger in tranches, but more criteria as well. I think something to look out for as you expand to different markets will be grants by, imagine like the Enterprise Singapore of other markets. For example, Invest HK. They're not just providing you monetary resources, but they are like the ecosystem connector for you to enter the market. We have Australia Trade, for example, Invest HK, that will connect you to other relevant institutional individual investors in their own countries, but also partners and different potential clients as well. I personally have benefited a lot from people like Australia Trade, where it's not just about, can you provide certain grants for my portfolio companies, but you have connected us with other VCs or potential clients and PR agencies, for example. They're both useful for the portfolio companies that we have, but also us as a VC to provide more value for companies' market penetration. So ask for more things beyond monetary value when you speak to these trade associations. The second, enterprise grants, I think we might be familiar if you've seen things like Google Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, AWS, those sorts. These are very useful. HubSpot, Air Wallets, they're all providing startup grants, especially within the first year to third year of incorporation at different tranches based on your scale. But the one thing to know is do actually calculate the cost of product after utilizing the grant. A lot of times people get started on a grant, then realize they can't switch out of it because you can't really port over a CRM overnight or like a payment system, POS, whichever, and the end cost will be really high. So when you're applying for grants and receiving them, do also take into consideration what's the true cost of the services that you're applying for after the grant season is over. The next one is individual investors. My background before VC was I started an angel network called NUS Alumni Ventures, which is now 150 angels and 50 operating members across Southeast Asia. And we syndicate deals for companies who don't want to deal with, say, individual investors, which gets very messy on the cap table or very difficult to deal with. And legally, it's also a lot of complexities. So what we do is we set up special purpose vehicles to park a couple of individual investors into one syndicate. We call it like a shell vehicle to invest into a company. And this is also possible whether you're a traditional business or a tech startup. You can look out for a lot of angel networks that kind of clean up the process for you. I think here, the reason why I like to work with angel investors, either for my me as a company fundraising or me as an investor, is because individual investors have a lot of time and certain domain expertise that they can provide to the company. For example, they are like Indonesia market access experts, or they can help you with pitching or working with corporate clients, very specific fields. So understand each one of them very well, and also talk to them, sync up with them on a monthly basis even, and see what sort of value you can get out of them. It's very different. The relationship is usually more casual than working with VCs and private equities, and they're usually very hands-on when they invest in something, because for them, it's quite a sizable ticket sizes when they invest. Ticket sizes you can explore as small as, say, $10,000 USD, all the way to, say, even 100K for larger individual investors as well. Some of the angel networks that you might want to explore, and they're also open to investing in a lot of consumer brands, chain businesses. Imagine like your Stuffed or Wok-Hey or even beauty brands in certain Southeast Asia market where it's very consumer driven, will be people like ourselves, NUS Alumni Ventures. We have Bansi, XA Network. You can also tap online like Angel List, Angel School. There are a couple of others. If you need a full list of all of them and introductions to any of these angel networks, you can also reach out to me afterwards. And I also recommend for anyone tapping to individual investors, anytime you cross more than, say, 5 to 10 individual investors, to work with a corporate secretary company like Sleek, for example, to help you clean up the process and do the accounting for you and the back office. Next would be institutional investors. For non-tech, for tech businesses, I think any of these institutional investors might be relevant for you. We have venture capital firms, which are now slowly moving into traditional businesses. I think in the last few weeks of conversations I had with a lot of Indonesia-based VCs and Malaysia-based VCs, a lot of them are interested in, like, say, even like aesthetic chains or like beauty brands, F&B chains, which is very typical of private equity businesses, but now VCs are moving into it as well. Some family offices have gone directly into businesses instead of fund of fund. And for you, if you think you're too early to dilute your equity, venture debt might be a good option, where You can provide loans of 2 years maturity at interest rates of say maybe 12 to 15% or more, depending on different terms. If you don't want to dilute your businesses so fast. I think things to look out for, it's not just about the investors assessing you as a founder or business owner, but the other way around, right? You get to pick your investors as well, would be to check your investment terms, whether it's equity and debt. I really have advise everyone to look for professional help when it comes to investment terms, because you don't want 5 to 7 years later when you have to liquidate the business through all these different investors and you don't get very good terms. This is a deeper dive conversation with professional help. Also assess the background of GPs. Same thing with individual investors. Find out where they have strengths in certain industries or certain markets, and reach out to them for these certain asks as well. I can give you an example about how we kind of utilize this or didn't utilize this very well later in my sharing. And also finding synergies with the existing portfolio will be useful. Whether you can partner with them or they can be your potential clients. I think these are the things that you can look out for before you pitch to these investors as well. Or when you're choosing different investors to pick from in terms of funding sources. But regardless of all our sharing about funding sources, the best money is still customers' money. Avoid 2 things. One is over dilution too early. Make sure you have maintained as much shares as possible, and dilute over time as you grow bigger, instead of raising a very big round when you're early on, which I think most founders get too caught up in all these funding news where you see huge 100 million seed round raise in Web3 companies and Y Combinator kind of fundraising sizes. That's not relevant for Southeast Asia market especially, and you can sabotage yourself for future funding rounds when you over dilute. And the second one would be avoid wasting too much time on fundraising that you really lose sight on building the actual business itself. The best strategy is still growing your top line instead of taking funding sources from elsewhere. So that's it for success metrics and funding sources. Back to you, Sonal.
Thank you, Vanessa, for those insights. I think this is a very interesting point that the best money is customers' money. I'm curious to know if you can share any case study of, maybe your portfolio company that has successfully scaled while maintaining this balance between fundraising and, building their business. So is there anything that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I think this is quite an intimate crowd of a lot of hungry business owners. So I'll be very candid of some of our highlights, but also our lowlights and things that I wish we could have done better as well. So an introduction is PartyPost is an influencer advertising platform. It pioneered the nano and micro influencer space in Southeast and East Asia. Back when people only work with big bloggers, this company started on doing key opinion customers. So imagine like people at 1,000 followers can be influencers as well. Background was I was on the VC Quest Ventures that invested in them in 2020, and eventually I joined them more hands-on on the operating side more so recently. In terms of scale-wise, since we're talking about scalability, it's done pretty well with over 4,000 plus global brands across multiple industries. So as small as your SMEs who have maybe a few $1,000s of spend every month on marketing to enterprise clients as well, like your Fortune 500. This is the markets that we're in. We're in 8 different markets in Singapore, Indonesia, and Taiwan were the first 3 markets that we launched because the 3 co-founders are from there. And now we just launched the Korea market as well and exploring Australia soon. So I think some of the insights from looking at them from an investment lens since 2020 and being part of the operating team more hands-on this year onwards is a couple of things. So I work on also market penetration and building new markets for them. So I cover Indonesia, Thailand, and exploring in Australia next. Is the 0 to 1 is still done by CEO's office regardless. As much as you want to hire a very awesome country head with a deep network and great access and understanding of the ground, I think CEO still has to be very hands-on, at least for the first 3 to 4 months in a new team, because you know the best practices from other markets that you have successfully launched before, how you build your initial business, which a new country who may have the local ground knowledge may not know how to replicate that same strategy or that 0 to 1 stage. So I think CEO still has to work with like a new country head for the first 3 months. And that's one of the learning points. And that may include, flying down to those countries like twice a month or once a month even. Second is nothing beats physical presence in Southeast and East Asia. Nothing happens and nothing moves on email compared to a 1 hour Zoom call or a 1 hour in-person meeting, and having that conversation casually with them over drinks. Lunch is always important to get things moving. And also, I think one of the stigma is that you can't start multiple markets at one. You should go one after the other. But you have a very strong team. In this case, there are 3 co-founders who are based in 3 different countries. They started 3 markets at the same time. And the mindset was always regional from day one, right? And not just, oh, I'm just gonna be within Southeast Asia, but this is across Southeast Asia and East Asia as well. It's very possible. And because of this speed on growing so many markets at the same time, we became number 1 in a few markets, which other players who move market to market, instead, now they're number 2 or number 3. So I think starting a few markets may be more complex, but you win in terms of speed. Second thing is raising from regional and local investors have made all the difference for us. In Taiwan, we're also market leader really quickly in a few years because of strategic investors from Taiwan Mobile, which is the 2nd largest telco there, Cathay Venture, which is the bank, and the CVC of a corporate venture arm of a bank, as well as other Taiwanese angel investors as well. And that kind of shot us to growth in terms of user base and client base really quickly. And contrary, some of the lowlights for us is we didn't raise from Indonesia investors from day one. So we don't have Indonesia corporate venture capital arms for the first few years, no Indonesia individual investors. And because of that, Indonesia didn't grow as fast for us as other markets where we had support from larger corporates, like in Singapore, with SPH Ventures previously, and in Taiwan. So we saw the difference over the last 7 years, and where we grew the fastest was where we had our investments from as well. I think last but not least is explore new market penetration models. It's not, in our first 8 markets, we started by hiring 1 country head, sales team, operations team from the ground, and start with a team of say 5 to 10 per market when we grew, especially in markets where the cost of hiring is not too expensive. But in new markets, we are exploring new models like licensing model with our tech, for example, revenue share opportunities with existing agencies over there. And a lot of these times, these are also facilitated by the trade associations from the government level. So going back to my my topic on grants and working with enterprise and the trade association, those would be helpful in advising you also what market penetrations, what models work better in different markets. So don't just stick to the same playbook that has worked with you in the first 5 to 10 markets, for example. The next few markets might work in a very different model, especially when your cost of hiring is different and the market landscape is very different. Yes, so reach out to me on email and LinkedIn if you want any intros and also any follow-up questions that you might have. Thank you. So and that's it.
Thank you, Vanessa. I think it always makes sense to share a real life case study. So thank you so much for that. And regional from day one, I think something for everyone to take note of. Okay, I know that there are a lot of questions in the chat box, also in the Q&A section. So just bear with us. We will take all your questions, hopefully, very, very shortly. So before we come to the audience Q&A, I want to give Ricky an opportunity to come and speak. Ricky, Zoom became top of mind and completely changed the way businesses operate during the pandemic. So we would love to hear from you on what scalability means to Zoom today, and how is Zoom helping businesses leverage, technology and adapt in this new era. So over to you, Ricky.
Yeah, thanks, Sonal. And I guess this session, for me, it's probably the case study of the conversation, right? In terms of Zoom's 13-year-old tech startup has already scaled once, and I think we're all familiar with that, and we're aspiring to scale for the second time. So my session is more a practitioner session in terms of what are we going through, and perhaps you take some knowledge out and experience out of that, ideas out of that would be hopefully good for you. My background, I've been with Zoom for 4 years. I lead Asia Pacific. I've had executive leadership roles before that at Microsoft, Google, Oracle, some big names, both running the transforming big businesses within these companies, but also start incubating small startups within these companies and scaling them out. So when we think about Zoom, we think about a big company today. As I said, it's 13 years old. It was not that well known prior to the pandemic. And essentially, Zoom 1.0, the scaling we all are very familiar with when the pandemic happened and everyone went to video and suddenly Zoom scaled and it became a core part of our lives, both professionally, personally, got embedded into all kinds of things like telemedicine, education, etc. And frankly, at that point, I won't talk about it too much, but at that point, the real scaling story of Zoom was scaling engineering innovation. It was all about engineering and innovation. The market was coming to us, and there was so much demand. Marco talked about the demand. Vanessa talked about demand. The demand was coming in because of product innovation that was there at the time. But suddenly you had to expand data center capacity. You had to expand security capabilities. You had to do a lot of product innovation, and that was the focus of scalability. And at the end of that, the company built some very, very strong muscles in terms of engineering innovation, which is a core to what is happening in our version 2. But of course, soon the world changed and the new reality came where people were back again to traveling. People were in this hybrid work force. People were getting back into work. There was sort of 3 days, 2 days, 4 days. And so as a result, phase one of that explosive growth, where it was always on the back of video and meetings, that was changing to something new. And I think this is kind of where the learning is. You've really got to keep a finger on the pulse as to what is that new reality going to be in front of me. And in that new reality, what is it that customers are going to want? So I think we were faced with a new reality. We had scaled the business quite significantly. So we really had to go through a new learning curve about what are the new considerations in the world in front of us, right? And the things that we had to think about very, very deeply were, if we want to scale the business further, what are the new target markets that we have to capture? Who are going to be the new spenders? Where is the market headed? What is going to be the new area that is going to have decision makers and money, the adjacent markets? So that's the first consideration. We'll talk about this a little bit. The second one is, what does that target market now want? What is the new target market? What does it want in terms of product and innovations? Because it may not well be the same thing as the past. And I suspect most people in this audience, if you're running a startup, if you haven't faced this aspect of needing to pivot, be ready to do that, because 9 times out of 10, you are going to do that. I do advise a lot of startups, and I find in 90% of the cases, there's a need to pivot at some point, and knowing when to and what that market is going to need is a key consideration. And the third one really was for us, what is the go-to market that we have to design for that new target market and for the new product. So those are the 3 big things that we had to think about, and I'll go through this in a little bit of detail as to what, where we, sorry, I think the slides went really, really fast. Somebody moved the slides, right? Okay, that's fine. So when we looked at scan the market, the first thing we were looking at saying, okay, so the video space is saturated. People are going back to work. What is the world going to look like in that world? And we spent a lot of time understanding who are going to be the economic buyers in this new world. And this is where we rested on. I mean, this is our world. We realized that the 2 areas people were going to focus on is, firstly, employee experience in this new hybrid world. Somebody in the office, somebody at home, people traveling. How do you create a frictionless employee experience, which is not just about video anymore. It's about a much broader set of work capabilities. And we also believed, and we also scanned the market to realize that customer experience was going to change, because at the end of the pandemic, people came out, they were looking for agility, they were looking for a very different experience. So that's kind of where we figured out those are 2 areas that we can bring our experience to and disrupt the market for Zoom 2.0. And somehow what happened here? Have we lost the slides? Okay, back. So we we started looking at the different personas, and for us it was okay. We knew that there's a number of different people. CIOs were a focus target, but we realized that the decision makers, economic buyers, were going to be sales heads, CHRO, customer success leaders, marketing and comms leaders, as people in the new world. So that's the first thing, and I think Vanessa said it very well. Customers' money is the best money, and for us it was understanding who will be the new customer for the future. And then we had to sort of really look at, okay, what are the new products we have to build for these new customers? As I said, video was saturated. We were very well known for video. We had scaled that space, but what were the new products that they were going to be needed? So we went about, somebody can move to the next slide. Somehow I'm not getting. So we went about switching the product from being a very meetings video-centric product to a full platform that has end-to-end collaboration capabilities for the employee experience, but also a very powerful contact center capabilities for customer experience. And I don't want to talk about this in too much, but if you think about the number of products we have in our portfolio powered by AI, meetings is just one of those features. So a lot of what we realized was, as the puck was moving in a different direction, we understood who the target market was going to be, who had the money, who was the economic buyer, and we kind of figured out what they're going to need, and then we built on that. And I think many of y'all will have the same realities. Maybe you built product X and you build a certain product and you realize that the target market is not responding, and then you've got to scan the market to say what's the right target market and what are the capabilities and products they need. So that's the second part of what we did. We actually, transformed the product into a full platform. And for those of you who are interested in it, we have a big global event coming in the next 2-3 weeks. And then we started looking at our go-to-market. What is the go-to-market? And let's spend a bit of time on this. We had to look at a number of things about our go-to-market. We looked at org design. We moved from a very centralized org design to a very decentralized org design to get closer to customers. I created offices in all markets of Southeast Asia. We moved from regional hubs to city hubs. Partnerships, we had to scale through partnerships, both, sales partners who would go and take our product out into market, but also in terms of strategic partnerships where we would reach new markets through product integration. So we did a lot of work around that. Awareness and reach. Remember, we were very well known for video. We were not that well known as a contact center solution or a end-to-end workplace solution. So we had to work very hard, intensively on awareness and reach. We did a lot of global, regional, local events, both physical, hybrid, and a lot using this platform, Zoom events, Zoom webinars. We did a lot of stuff online to get access to these new personas I talked about, sales head, customer experience heads. We did a lot of work with our online platforms, a lot of experimental design. And it's still happening right now, where we sort of keep testing out different things, different pricing models, different capabilities online to get more people using our products. So I think Marco talked about new capabilities. So we spent a lot of time bringing new teams in. Remember, suddenly we had a new product platform in selling to new customer personas. So we needed to bring specialists in. So we hired new people. We built customer success teams. And frankly, when we look at today, some of these new teams we brought into the org, much of our Zoom 2.0 scaling success is because of those teams. They bring a value proposition to that new persona that we could not have created without those teams. And then finally, somebody else talked about public sector collaborations. We work closely with many governments around thinking about how do we make this collaboration communication platform easily accessible to especially SMEs who really want state-of-the-art technology to reach broader markets, but they don't really want to spend a lot of money. So, where does grants come in and all of those things? So we spent a lot of time looking at all these considerations. So, the last 4 years of my life has been actually bringing to life all of these things. So we've got a lot of experience in that. Not something I can unpack in the next in a short 10-12 minutes, but that's kind of the case study of Zoom. That's what we're doing to get to Zoom 2.0. It's about new target markets, who are the new customers. It's about building new products for that future, using our engineering innovation. And it's about pivoting on the go-to-market with all some of the things I've got mentioned here. So with that, Sonal, over to you. Happy if anyone wants to connect with me on LinkedIn and get a little bit more, thoughts on this, happy to connect.
Thank you so much, Ricky, for your insights. And I think we have a lot of Q&As, coming in. So I would love to just quickly, share some questions. And probably the first one, Ricky, I can just direct it to you. I think this is something that you could probably take. So the question is, for a brand that has a high customer acquisition cost and low profit, like an e-commerce business without any brick or mortar store, right? So how can I scale in a profitable manner, that is, get more customers without incurring more costs that eats into the profits?
Yeah, I think there's two things. Well, there's two or three things I would mention. If you can stay on that slide, that would be useful. There'll be there's two or three things that you'll see on my slide that are important. One is partnerships. I think if your acquisition cost is too high, you've got to think about partnerships, companies that can take your product to market, reach the markets you want at a lower cost and potentially at a cost that is shared. We do that a lot, and so we spend a lot of time. So that's one. The second is you've got to think about awareness, reach, and online scale. You've got to figure out a way to cut down that acquisition cost. If you've got to hire some very expensive salespeople, there's always alternative approaches. Inside sales, there's online scale, you've got to think about reaching these customers through platforms like this, webinars, all of those things. So and frankly, you've got to experiment. We've done all of this. We've got to experiment. We've done all of this. I have an incredible mix of very experienced folks for my top customers where the acquisition cost is high. But we also opened up new channels through online scale, through awareness at scale, through webinars and so on, and through partnerships, which does cut your costs down quite significantly.
Great. Thank you so much, Ricky, for that. Can we see all the panelists now? So I'll just take more questions. So maybe we can get rid of the slides. Okay, I think I'm going to ask Marco the next one, which is on team. So there are actually two questions, and maybe I can just read both of them, and Marco can help address. So when you hire more expertise externally to support scalability, what are the common sentiments of existing employees, and how do you handle it? And then a related question again on team is, what are some of the key organizational changes to consider for SMEs, and how can we attract and retain top talent on a limited budget? Marco, do you want to take that?
Yes, gladly. So I think let's start from the last one. How organizing our team is a very strategic move that we have to do. So and our team structure changes as our business grows. So sometimes we need to have heads. We need to hire heads. Sometimes we need to hire hands, and sometimes we need to hire legs. So I believe that this is understanding what we need in which stage of our development, of our growth, is the key to hire properly, let's say. Going to partnership, it is hard for sure it's part of the company culture, to make sure that the employees feel protected and valued in their work. And I think that there are two parts. One is when we build a partnership, they making and be completely clear with our employees, with our team, where their partner is coming into with what the expected results and value is the partner coming in with are. I think this is the key. So transparency towards the goals and the value that the partner is bringing is one thing. And for our business as well. Honestly, partnerships are important, but we need to know what we are getting from that. So I think and it doesn't have to be a redundant value. So if we have key people that can deliver, we must leverage them, and understanding what we want from the partnership. I think this is quite the approach I would take.
Thank you so much, Marco. I think we might extend by a few minutes, but I want to cover this question for Vanessa. Vanessa, there's somebody who wants to know that you spoke about brand value, right? So how critical is this as a measure when you look into scalability?
I think brand value seems to be a lot of top funnel for a lot of businesses in, like, say, if you are doing a product business, but if you're a very service-based business or you're a solopreneur, I think that's very important. I think some of the questions that came in are from solo entrepreneurs or small teams. That's when people are not just buying it for the product that you are selling, but for yourself, right? Especially if you're a consultant, in talent hunting. So I think that's very important. It seems like a lot of ways are not measurable, but I think there are a lot of things that you can follow, you can track, including like your LinkedIn following, your engagement, how many leads are driving from LinkedIn. Maybe start thinking about putting tracking links and UTM links when you promote your services across different social media and different ad channels as well, to see what works and what doesn't. Because I think marketing yourself and also your team's expertise is also quite a big significant piece about why people come to you in the first place.
Great, thank you so much, Vanessa. I have one more that I want to do, and it'll be a quick one. I will ask, all three of you can sort of chime in here one by one. Okay, how do businesses ensure that their innovations remain scalable in the long term, especially in industries that change quickly due to new technology and what customers want? Ricky, do you want to go first?
Yeah, look, I would say the first thing is don't focus on your technology, focus on the customer. Technology is going to shift, and it's going to dramatically shift in the next coming months and years. And I think I spend a lot of time with entrepreneurs, especially tech entrepreneurs, and most of them start with the technology. I'm doing something in AI and blockchain, and the first question I have is, who cares about your product? What's the value proposition? What's the customer? Why does the customer care? And I think you got to focus on your target market, your customer, and build for that. And I think I do find with a lot of techpreneurs, folks start with the technology, and I think you got to start with the customer first. And that's the best way to scale.
Mathur, do you want to go next? Thank you, Ricky, for that.
Yes, I think it's very, the point is should be always the customer. Ricky, I completely agree with you. In that I would add that going back to what I was saying earlier, having a clear strategy and a clear target helps. So when your target and strategy is built upon your clients, which are our value really, then we will be able to pivot or use the proper technology to reach that target. But if we don't have a target, then we will just follow and react to what the universe is bringing to us. And this is going to be extremely ineffective because we focus again on the product rather than on the results / customer. So strategy and target, I would say.
Great. So customer, strategy, and target. Vanessa, what do you want to add to that?
I think they pretty much quite well covered it already.
Yeah. Cool. So anything to add, Vanessa?
I think the last advice is everything is very iterative. I think whatever problems that we're thinking about solving right now might change a month later when new competitors come in or when market shifts and market trends. Like everyone talks about like AI and new tech trends. So I think we have to keep reflecting on our business problems and maybe the success metrics that I was talking about. That might change quite regularly as well. So I think checking back in with, say, like the senior leadership team would be quite useful. And also some of the people maybe down on the ground, they might not be your senior executive. They could be junior staff, might be the one who's most ahead of trends. And I think talking to them time to time to know what's going on and how do we iterate would be very useful.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I think, apologies, we can't take more questions because we are running out of time, but we will answer them after the session and you can see it on our website. So thank you so much, everyone. I think I just want to just do a quick wrap up and say that I think from my perspective, I think what clearly stands out is that scalability is not just a one size fits all journey, right? It is so unique to you as a business and what works for you and your company. And again, like Marco and Ricky and Vanessa said, that it's about customers, it's about the target that you set, and the product that you have, right? That comes first, and everything else sort of falls within that. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vanessa, Marco, and Ricky for your sharing, for all these valuable insights. And thank you to our audience. You guys have been really engaging. And there's so many questions that we'll get to after the session. Thank you, everyone, and wish you all a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.